see. So what do? You give them ketamine, you try and dampen the plasticity, the brain change that would occur to remember that incredibly traumatic event. Now it's being used as a way to bring people into the clinic, or it seems like it is pretty rampant use now, and put people into this dissociative state so that they see themselves having an experience. In fact, I've talked to people who've gone through ketamine trials, and they describe it as watching themselves get out of their own car. They're like third personing themselves. This to me sounds like a horrible state to be in. But a lot
Why is that?
I mean, I've been working my whole life to just be comfortable with the body I'm in, and I'd like to stay in it, not because it's always comfortable to be there, but because, you know, getting good at that seems to be the key to having a good life, being able to tolerate discomfort. This is about getting out of yourself.
Yeah, but isn't the point for these people to try to figure out what they're doing wrong with their life so they can look at it objectively as a third party?
Yeah, that makes sense to me, that they would look at, like, for instance, their suicidal depression and say, you know, that, like the new agey kind of thing is like, you are not your feelings. That's a tough one for people to incorporate, because when I have really strong feelings, it certainly feels like it's happening inside me. So this is allowing them to get next to their feelings and see their feelings as an experience, not them.
Yeah, I mean, but even when you know that it's definitely happening to you, you know that you are also sometimes not burdened by those feelings.
That's right.
So it's some sort of an external factor, or even if it's an internal factor.
Right.
It's a thing other than the core of what you are.
Right. It doesn't define you.
Right. It doesn't define you. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to figure out, like, why are they so overwhelming to the point where they want to leap off of a cliff? Like, what is causing that?
Yeah, and it seems to work quite well for intractable depression, as it's called. What's really odd about the fact that it works, at least to me, is that if you look at the other new emerging, very effective treatment for severe depression, it's the exact opposite. It's this incredible work that Matthew Johnson and colleagues are doing out at Johns Hopkins, giving people macro doses of psilocybin. I talked to him, we had him on the podcast, and I asked him, I'm like, what are your thoughts on microdosing? And he was like, macrodose. And I thought, like, whoa, this is an academic saying this. This isn't like some guy who's, you know, trying to push psychedelics for his own agenda. This is a guy who's studying these in purely through the lens of science. Like, what are you talking about? What's critical about the macro dose of psilocybin?
When you say macro, what kind of dose are you talking about?
I don't know how they dose these, but this would be like in the gram range.
How many grams? 1 gram?
I need to check. We should check with Matt before people run off and start to take it. But certainly not micro, right? They're hallucinating. They're feeling a lot. And I said, what's the key thing? You're seeing success after success after success, eating disorders, depression, you know. And he said, it seems to be, quote unquote, letting go. And I'm like, well, that's not science, right? What is letting go? Are you talking about heart rate 50% above baseline? Are you talking about breathe? You know, and he said, there does seem to be something crucial about the people in these trials experiencing what would normally give them a complete panic attack and being able to just let go and go into the experience without trying to control it, without trying to tamp it down or ramp it up, just be in it.
What kind of experience that would give them a panic attack?
For some people, it's, you know, he said there was one woman who came in, I believe it was a woman who, there was a painting on the wall and she thought she could jump through it. And so that, you know, they're holding her back, you know, they're holding her back. And they do give them tools to control their anxiety. So my lab works on a lot of breathing tools for real-time rapid control of anxiety. And we handed some of those off to Matt. So they give these to people as tools. They also have defibrillators in there. They have everything because it's a university setting just in case. And he said that the key thing is that they kind of feel overwhelmed, but then they feel supported enough by the therapist to lean into whatever's happening and they stop trying to regulate it. And that's where apparently he thinks the breakthrough is. And so that reveals something very fundamental. It says that there's something powerful in terms of long-term depression relief that can be learned in those states that has to do with not regulating oneself or one's need to run for